Everyone thought she was the perfect pastor's daughter, until her secret life tore her world apart. She smiled in church, led worship, and earned everyone's trust. But by night, she chased parties, attention, and dangerous choices. One night with the wrong person changed everything: her life, her family, and the future she never imagined. For years, everyone saw Mirabel as the symbol of purity, soft-spoken, humble, prayerful, and almost angelic. Parents used her as an example for their own children, and the entire church trusted her more than some of the elders. She never missed choir rehearsals, never raised her voice, and never argued with anyone. Even the pastor, her own father, often said God gave him a daughter who was a light in a dark world. But what nobody knew was that Mirabel was living a life that didn't match her quiet smiles. From the outside, Mirabel looked like the kind of girl who had everything under control. Her school results were always excellent, she dressed decently, greeted everyone gently, and never got into trouble. But inside her room, behind the door she always locked, another version of her existed. A version she fought hard to hide. A version she prayed nobody would ever see. This double life started small, with little secrets she told herself would not matter. But step by step, she found herself going deeper into things she knew she shouldn't be doing. People only saw the surface, and she made sure of that. Whenever someone passed by her window, they heard worship songs playing. Whenever she walked outside, she held her Bible close. Whenever adults talked to her, she stood with her hands folded politely. She wore her quietness like a mask, a perfect disguise to keep everyone blind. But behind closed doors, she was someone else, someone bold, someone reckless, someone who knew how to hide her tracks too well. The day her double life began wasn't dramatic. It didn't start with a big mistake or a sudden temptation. It started with loneliness. Mirabel grew up under strict rules: no sleepovers, no parties, no boys, no social life. Her father believed protecting her meant controlling everything she did. She wasn't allowed to use social media until she turned 16. Even then, every password had to be written in a notebook her father kept in his drawer. But like many teenagers, Mirabel found ways around the rules. And one small act of rebellion opened a door she wasn't ready to walk through. At first, she only wanted friendship, someone to talk to, someone who didn't see her as the pastor's perfect daughter. But the people she met online didn't see her as a symbol or a church girl. They saw a pretty face. They saw a girl with soft eyes and a sweet voice. And the attention felt good. Too good. Mirabel told herself she could control it. She believed she was too smart to get caught, too disciplined to let things go too far. She was wrong. Mirabel grew up in a house where silence felt like a rule. Everybody walked carefully, talked carefully, behaved carefully. Her father didn't allow loud music, late-night movies, or unnecessary outings. Even laughter had to be controlled. And the older she got, the more she felt trapped in a life that didn't belong to her. On the outside she was calm, polite, and perfect. On the inside she was restless, hungry for something different, something exciting, something that made her feel like a real teenager. Her first taste of that freedom happened by accident. One evening, she was returning from a tutorial class when she heard music coming from a small spot near the junction. It wasn't a club, just a simple outdoor place where young people gathered to talk, play music, and unwind. Mirabel had always passed by quickly, pretending she wasn't curious. But that day, she paused. The laughter felt warm. The music felt alive. The faces looked free. And something in her chest pulled her closer. A girl around her age noticed her standing awkwardly near the fence. "Hi, you look lost," the girl said with a friendly smile. Her name was Tara. Confident, relaxed, and very different from anyone Mirabel had ever spoken to. Tara invited her to sit just for a minute, promising nothing serious was happening. Mirabel wanted to refuse, but her legs betrayed her. She sat down, feeling nervous and excited at the same time. For the first few minutes, she barely spoke. She only listened, really listened, to how others joked and shared stories freely without pretending to be perfect. Nobody expected her to quote Bible verses. Nobody watched her every move. Nobody cared about who her father was. They treated her like a normal girl, and that alone felt like oxygen in her lungs. Tara offered her a soft drink, and Mirabel accepted with shaky hands. The taste felt different from what she drank at home. Maybe it was the atmosphere, maybe it was the sense of danger, or maybe it was just the thrill of sitting where she knew she wasn't supposed to be. But for the first time in her life, she felt alive. Time moved fast. When she finally checked her phone, she panicked. It was almost 8:30 p.m., far later than she ever stayed out. She jumped to her feet, thanked Tara hurriedly, and ran home with her heart pounding. She entered the house quietly and went straight to her room. Her parents didn't even know she had come home late because they assumed she was in her room like she always was. Mirabelle sat on her bed breathing heavily. She knew she had crossed a line. But instead of guilt, she felt something else, a strange craving. The night had given her a feeling she didn't want to let go of. A feeling of belonging. A feeling of being seen. A feeling of being free. She told herself she wouldn't go back, but deep down, she already knew she would, because that night, something inside her woke up, something she was not ready to admit, something that would soon take over her life completely. Mirabelle woke up the next morning with a strange mixture of excitement and fear twisting inside her stomach. She kept replaying the previous night in her mind, the music, the laughter, the feeling of being free. It felt like she had stepped into a world she was never meant to enter, yet she didn't want to leave. Her room suddenly felt too quiet, too controlled, too predictable. The taste of freedom was still fresh on her tongue, and it made everything in her normal life feel dull. Throughout the day, she found herself checking her phone, wishing Tara would somehow text her. But Tara didn't have her number, and Mirabelle hadn't asked for hers either. She didn't know whether she regretted that or not. Part of her wanted to go back to that spot and sit with those strangers again. Another part of her told her it was stupid, risky, and dangerous. But the more she tried to focus on her assignments, the stronger the desire became. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the faces she saw, the energy in the air, and the feeling that, for once, she wasn't being watched or judged. By evening, the temptation became too hard to ignore. Mirabelle told her mother she needed fresh air because she had a slight headache. Nobody suspected anything. After all, she almost never asked to go outside. Her mother simply told her not to stay long. Mirabelle nodded, trying to hide the excitement bubbling inside her. She walked out calmly, but the moment she stepped away from the house, she sped up, her heart beating fast. When she reached the junction spot, she was surprised to see Tara already there, sitting with a small group. Tara's face lit up when she saw her. "You again." Tara grinned. "You came back." Mirabelle smiled shyly. "I just wanted to take a walk." Tara laughed softly. "Nobody comes here just to walk. Come and sit." Mirabelle joined them, and just like the night before, she blended in as if she had always belonged. She didn't talk much, but her presence alone made her feel bold. Someone played music from a small speaker, and the familiar beat made her toes tap. Tara introduced her to a few more people, all friendly, all carefree, all living a life Mirabelle had only watched from a distance. As the hours passed, she slowly let her guard down. She laughed. She shared small jokes. She even let Tara take one group picture with her inside. "Don't worry," Tara assured her when she looked scared. "I won't post it anywhere." The trust felt dangerous, but it also felt good. Too good. When Mirabelle got home, she wasn't shaking like the first time. This time, she felt calm, almost confident. She had snuck in and out twice without getting caught. She knew her parents thought she was still the quiet, obedient girl they raised. That blind trust became her shield, and she used it to cover her tracks. But what she didn't know was this: the more she went, the harder it would be to stop. That spot by the junction wasn't just a place anymore. It had become her escape, her comfort, and slowly, her addiction. And once addiction starts, it rarely ends quietly. The next day, Mirabelle went to church like nothing had happened. She smiled, walked confidently, and took her place on the stage to lead praise and worship. Her voice was clear and strong, and every note made her look like the perfect pastor's daughter. People around her watched, impressed by her devotion and energy, unaware of the life she was hiding at night. But during the service, her phone vibrated in her bag. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. Quickly, she slipped into the church toilet to check the message. It was from Tara. "We are going clubbing tonight," the message read. "Some big boys are taking us out. Don't miss it." Mirabelle's heart skipped. She wanted to say no. She knew it was dangerous, wrong, and risky. But part of her craved it. She wanted to feel that life, the excitement, the freedom, the attention. After a long pause, she whispered to herself, "I'll go." After the service, she went home, had dinner with her family, and acted normal as usual. She stayed in her room, waiting for night to come. Once the house was quiet and everyone asleep, she dressed carefully. She wore a black hoodie and a cap to hide her face and packed a sexy outfit into her bag, something her parents would never approve of. Mirabelle quietly opened the back door and slipped outside. She called a taxi and kept her head down, heart racing. Every step felt like a small rebellion. When she finally arrived at Tara's place, the girls were already getting ready. They laughed and joked, changing into revealing outfits and putting on makeup. Mirabel changed quickly into her own outfit, feeling both nervous and excited. Minutes later, a black SUV pulled up. The girls all got in, and soon they were on their way to the club. When they arrived, the boys were waiting in the VIP area. The group greeted them warmly, laughing and pouring drinks. The girls smiled, feeling the thrill of attention and luxury. Tara introduced Mirabel to one of the boys. His name was Pedro. He was tall, handsome, and looked rich. The moment their eyes met, Mirabel felt a spark. They talked, laughed, and danced together. For the first time, she forgot her rules, her parents, her life at home. She just wanted to enjoy herself. Hours passed quickly, and the night ended with a new, dangerous plan. The boys didn't want to send the girls home. They decided to lodge somewhere for the night. Mirabel knew it was risky. She knew it was wrong. But in that moment, she didn't care. All she wanted was fun, excitement, and Pedro. She agreed to stay with him. That night, she crossed a line she could never take back. That night, Mirabel made the biggest mistake of her life. Mirabel sat on the bed, confused and shaking. She didn't plan for the night to end this way. She thought she would just dance, talk, and maybe kiss Pedro. She didn't expect everything to go further. But it did. Pedro didn't shout at her. He didn't force her. He talked to her gently, touched her softly, and acted like he liked her. Because she was new to this kind of attention, she didn't know how to handle it. Before she could think clearly, it happened. Mirabel, who had never been with any boy before, lost her virginity that night. The moment she realized what had happened, she felt weak. She turned her face away from Pedro and stared at the wall. Her stomach felt heavy. She felt sad, confused, and angry at herself at the same time. She wished she could rewind everything, but she couldn't. Pedro didn't understand what was going on in her mind. He smiled at her like nothing serious had happened. Mirabel didn't respond. She just kept quiet. She didn't want to cry in front of him, so she swallowed the tears and forced herself to stay calm. After some minutes, she stood up slowly and searched for her clothes. Her body felt uncomfortable. She dressed up quietly. Pedro didn't stop her or ask questions. He simply relaxed on the bed and scrolled on his phone. By morning, Tara and the other girls were laughing and chatting outside the room. Mirabel didn't join them. She didn't even say much. She just ordered a ride and left the hotel. During the taxi ride home, she looked out of the window the whole time. She didn't say a word. Her mind was empty. She didn't know what she was supposed to tell herself. She didn't know how she would continue her day. She just wanted to reach her room and lie down. When the taxi stopped near her street, she got out and walked through the back of the house. She opened the back door quietly and went straight to her room. She locked the door and sat on her bed. Inside the house, everything was normal. Her mom was cooking. Nobody asked where she had been. Nobody noticed she left the house at all. Her parents trusted her so much that they didn't even imagine she could disappear during the night. Mirabel lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. She didn't feel happy. She didn't feel excited. She just felt empty and scared. Everything that happened last night became a secret she now had to carry alone. Mirabel turned off her phone and placed it beside her pillow. She felt tired, but she couldn't sleep. Her mind kept moving from one thought to another. She wondered what Pedro truly thought about her. She wondered if she embarrassed herself. She wondered if he was with another girl already. All these thoughts made her chest feel tight. The next morning, she woke up with swollen eyes. She didn't cry out loud, but the stress showed on her face. When her mom knocked on her door, she quickly wiped her eyes and forced her voice to sound normal. "I'm fine, Mommy. I'm coming." She came out and acted like everything was okay. Her mom didn't notice anything strange. Her dad didn't look at her twice. They all ate breakfast together peacefully. Nobody knew she hadn't slept well. Nobody knew what she was struggling with. After breakfast, she went straight back to her room and locked the door again. She lay on her bed, scrolling through Pedro's Instagram page. She checked his stories. She checked who he followed. She even checked if he posted anything new. Nothing. She kept refreshing the app, but still nothing. She threw her phone on the bed and covered her face. She felt stupid for caring so much. She felt angry at herself for giving him something she couldn't take back. She felt embarrassed for expecting him to act differently. Tara messaged again, "Babe, relax. Friday go sweet." Mirabel didn't reply immediately. She stared at the message for a long time. She didn't want to look desperate. She didn't want Tara to know how much she was hurting. So she typed a simple answer, "Okay." The days passed slowly. Mirabel realized she wasn't herself anymore. She couldn't focus on anything. She didn't feel like praying. She didn't feel like singing. When her mom asked why she wasn't practicing her worship songs, Mirabel lied and said she was tired. By Thursday night, she had already picked out her outfit for Friday. She laid it on her bed and stared at it. She knew she shouldn't go. She knew she wasn't ready to face Pedro again. But the fear of staying home alone and thinking too much pushed her the other way. Friday evening finally arrived. Tara sent a short message. Taxi don't reach. Step outside. Mirabel looked at herself in the mirror. She didn't look like the pastor's daughter anymore. She didn't look innocent or calm. She looked like someone who was trying hard to hide her pain. She picked up her small bag, took a deep breath, and left the room quietly. Her parents were in the sitting room watching TV. She told them she wanted to take a walk to clear her head. They didn't suspect anything. They blessed her and told her to come back early. Mirabel smiled weakly and walked out of the house, but inside, she wasn't smiling at all. By the time she entered the taxi, she already knew something very important. She was going back into the same world that hurt her, hoping it would make her feel better, and that decision would create even bigger problems than the ones she was already carrying. When Mirabel stepped into the party, the music was loud, the lights were flashing, people were dancing everywhere. She looked around, searching for Pedro, hoping he would smile when he saw her, but the moment her eyes found him, she froze. Pedro was not alone. He was with a girl, a tall girl, a fine girl. Her name was Samantha, the type of girl that could enter a room and everyone would turn. Samantha stood beside Pedro with her hand on his chest, laughing at everything he said. Her hips moved in a way that made people stare. Her confidence filled the whole place. She looked like someone who always got attention without even trying. Mirabel's chest tightened. Pedro didn't even glance her way. He didn't wave. He didn't say hi. He acted like she wasn't there at all. Mirabel kept staring, hoping maybe he would notice her, hoping maybe he would smile, hoping maybe he would walk toward her, but he didn't. He held Samantha by the waist and whispered something into her ear. Samantha giggled and leaned closer to him. Mirabel felt something break inside her. She thought he cared about her. She thought that night meant something, but she was wrong. Pedro was just a player. A boy who moved from one girl to another without thinking twice. Tara was dancing already and didn't notice anything. But Mirabel couldn't stay there. The music felt too loud. Her chest felt too heavy. Tears gathered quickly, and she didn't want anyone to see. She turned and walked out of the club. Outside, the night was quiet. The street was narrow and empty, the opposite of the noise she had just left. As she walked, tears started falling. She didn't care who saw. The pain was too much to hide. By the time she got home, she was shaking. She closed her door, sat on the floor, and cried like her heart was tearing apart. She cried the kind of cry that comes from deep inside, the type you cry when you feel stupid, embarrassed, and alone at the same time. How did I end up here? She whispered to herself. How did I let this boy fool me? God, please forgive me. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But even as the words left her mouth, something else was waiting for her, something she didn't expect, something that would change her life forever. 3 weeks later, Mirabel was no longer herself. She was always tired, moving slowly, and even simple house chores were now a struggle. Her mother noticed and asked her one morning, Mirabel, are you sure you're okay? Mirabel forced a small smile. I'm fine, Mom. But she wasn't fine. Inside her, fear was growing every day. Her body felt different. Her mood kept changing, and the truth she had been trying to avoid was already staring her in the face. Her period was 2 weeks late. She knew what that meant. She knew exactly what happened the night she spent with Pedro, but she kept praying she was wrong. After days of stress and panic, she couldn't take it anymore. She needed to confirm it. She needed to know the truth so she could stop torturing herself inside. That afternoon, Mirabel went to the nearest pharmacy. She bought a pregnancy test strip, hid it in her bag, and rushed home. When she got inside, she locked her bathroom door immediately. Her hands were trembling as she opened the pack. She took a deep breath and did the test. She placed it on the sink and stared at it, waiting. When the result appeared, her whole world stopped. 2 lines, positive. Mirabel's eyes opened wide in shock. She picked up the test with shaking hands, hoping she was reading it wrong, but the 2 lines were clear, bold and undeniable. No, no, no. She whispered, how did I let this happen? God, I'm finished. Her legs became weak, and she sank to the floor. Tears rolled down her cheeks uncontrollably. She felt like her chest was closing. Questions flooded her mind. How will I face my parents? How will I tell them their perfect daughter is pregnant? How will I tell Pedro? Will he even care? A pastor's daughter. Pregnant outside marriage, The thought alone broke her completely. That day, Mirabel cried until she had no strength left. She felt lost, ashamed, and completely alone, and sadly, she didn't know that this was just the beginning of a much bigger problem waiting for her. Mirabel stayed in her room the whole day. She didn't want to talk to anyone. She didn't want to see anyone. She kept staring at the pregnancy test in her hand, hoping the result would change. But it didn't. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She felt lost. She felt ashamed. She didn't know what to do next. She didn't go for lunch. She didn't go for dinner. Her mother knocked once, asking if she was fine. Mirabel forced herself to say I'm okay, even though she felt like her whole world had collapsed. Later that evening, she picked up her phone and texted Pedro, "Pedro, please, we need to talk. It's important." She waited 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, no reply. She called him. He cut the call. She called again. This time, he blocked her. Mirabel dropped her phone on the bed and broke down again. She covered her mouth so her parents wouldn't hear her crying. She couldn't believe the same boy she trusted had suddenly turned his back on her. Later, she called Tara and told her everything. Tara asked, "Pregnant for who?" "Pedro," Mirabel whispered. Tara replied sharply, "Babe, why you go lose guard like this? A whole babe like you. Well, that is your cup of tea. Fix yourself, you are an adult." Then she hung up. Mirabel sat on her bed and wiped her tears. She thought about her parents. She thought about the church. She thought about everyone who believed she was perfect. She sat quietly and whispered to herself, "What will I do now?" And that night, as she lay awake, staring at her ceiling, one painful truth became clear. No one was coming to save her. She had to face everything on her own. But what she didn't know was that the worst shock was still ahead of her. The next morning, Mirabel woke up with a heavy heart. She didn't sleep well. She kept thinking about everything, the pregnancy, Pedro, Tara, and how her whole life had changed in just a few weeks. She tried to act normal, but the stress was written all over her face. Her mother noticed immediately. "What is wrong with you?" her mother asked gently. Mirabel looked away. "Nothing, Mom, I'm just tired." But her mother wasn't convinced. "Mirabel, this is more than tiredness. You look worried. Did something happen?" Mirabel's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink fast so they wouldn't fall, but one escaped. Her mother stepped closer. "Mirabel, talk to me." Mirabel couldn't hold it anymore. Her voice was shaking. "Mom, I made a mistake." Her mother's expression changed slowly. "What mistake?" Mirabel swallowed hard as tears rolled down her cheeks. "Mom, I'm pregnant." Her mother went quiet. She covered her mouth gently, trying to absorb what she just heard. After a few seconds, she sat down, still looking at Mirabel with a mixture of shock and pain. "Pregnant," she said quietly. "Mirabel, how?" Mirabel cried harder. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It happened one night. I didn't know it would get this far." Her mother's eyes softened, but the disappointment was still there. "Does your father know?" "No," Mirabel whispered. They both knew telling her father, the pastor, the man who trusted her deeply, would hurt him. For hours, the house stayed silent. Then her mother finally spoke. "Mirabel, the damage is already done. You can't reverse it. But you must face it. You must tell your father. We will deal with everything as a family." Mirabel nodded slowly, even though fear held her chest tight. When her father returned home, her mother called him into the sitting room. Mirabel stood there trembling. Her father looked at her face and knew something serious was going on. "What is happening?" he asked. Mirabel couldn't talk. Her mother said softly, "She has something to tell you." Her father looked at her carefully. "Mirabel," her voice broke. "Daddy, I'm pregnant." Her father's eyes widened. Overwhelmed by the news, the room stayed quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, but filled with deep hurt. "Mirabel, why did you go down this road?" She cried openly. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I disappointed you. I disappointed everyone." Her father took a slow breath. "You did wrong, yes. But you are still my daughter. This is not the end of your future." Mirabel looked up, surprised. He continued, "We will correct this. We will stand with you. But you must learn from it. Living a secret life will always end in pain. You tried to hide everything, but the truth still came out." Her mother held her hand. "We forgive you, but you have to choose a better path from now on." Mirabel cried again. But this time it was from relief. She wasn't being rejected. She wasn't being pushed away. Her father added, "Let this be a lesson. Not every exciting thing ends well. And the people you chase outside can harm you, while the family you fear will still stand by you." Mirabel nodded slowly. The weight on her chest began to ease. She finally felt supported. Her journey ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be gossip, shame, and hard days, but she knew one thing: she would never live a double life again. She would never chase fake love again. She would rebuild herself, step by step, not with perfection, not with pride, but with truth, forgiveness, and a second chance. Every choice has consequences. Living a double life or chasing temporary pleasures can lead to pain and regret. Be honest with yourself and others, trust wisely, and remember that family and truth can guide you back when you make mistakes.